My name is Sana Mittar, and I'm a recent graduate from the University of Warwick. I studied economics, politics, and international studies. I worked in the United Nations Secretary General's office in my second year for 6 months. The internship is advertised at the official UN site called Inspira, and it is a very competitive internship looking at about 1,200 applicants for one role. The application process was divided in two rounds. First was the application and the tests, and the second one was interviews with the hiring manager and the supervisor for the role. The reason I think I was successful in securing this internship was due to my previous experience when I worked as a communications officer at UNICEF and had a good idea of the kind of working that is required in the UN system. Along with that, I do think that I prepared well for my assessments and interviews beforehand. By using different resources provided by the university, I was able to prepare well for my interview and for the test that I gave for this role. A few tips that I can give to someone who would want to apply for such internships in the UN would be one, to apply to as many internships and openings as you can. The internships are very competitive and there are very few positions open. So make sure you apply to anything and everything that you find interesting. Along with that, I would say make sure to read the job description very well. Ensure that you know what the role requires of you and what kind of skills are required for the role as well. And number three would be knowing what sort of skills are required for the role. For my role, I needed to practice my Excel skills, which were required in the test that I gave and following that in the interview that I gave. So make sure you know what technical skills are required for the role that you're applying for. Another piece of advice that I would give to someone who applying in the international development sector would be to not just confine yourself to the UN Secretariat, but also to apply to organizations like UNICEF, UNDP, and even programs with the World Bank or IMF. Since the internships are very competitive, it's always a good idea to keep your options open and apply to as many internships as you possibly can. My day-to-day working at the UN involved a lot of administrative and communications tasks. I was managing a 2,500 people newsletter and creating events for the UN family. I was also involved with a lot of training initiatives that we did for the UN system across the board. Something that I learned during my internship was skills of leadership, communication, analyzing different policies, and also implementing and communicating them effectively. Being an EPAIS student at Warwick taught me how to analyze different policy frameworks, which really helped me during my internship at the Secretariat. Along with that, I was involved with many university societies and with the Warwick SU, which also enhanced my communication and leadership skills and helped me during my time at the internship. My experience with working at the UN has helped me get interviews with a lot of target companies, and I hope to get a graduate role within the international development sector.